Good morning. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. And I'm realizing that flower is in the way for those who are sitting right there. Feel free if you want to move. Feel free, because this is what it's going to look the whole time for this hour. We had a memorial service last night, and those are the flowers from the service. And they were so pretty, we just left them. They're beautiful, but they are in the way for those who are sitting in that corner. We still have a lot more seats on this side, and feel free to, Jacob. Oh, well, here you go. Another solution. Thank you. That better? That is better. Thank you. I was hoping I will hide behind it, but oh well. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I am the minister of this congregation. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm so glad to see you here. Thank you for venturing out in this cold. I'm pretty sure we have people joining us online as well who didn't want to attempt to be out in this cold day, which is one of the first this year that is kind of cold day. But it is good to be together. It is good to gather and visit with one another, hear from one another, and share with one another. We are a religious community. Our faith holds love at the center, and we welcome all who come through our doors, all who believe in inherent worth and dignity of every person, every being. We work together to create an inclusive community, a beloved community. One of our values that we lift up this month is equity. And in our bylaws, the UUA bylaws, it is written, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. As we work toward building inclusive, beloved communities, we engage social justice work with deep passion and commitment. Our social justice team has about 45 members and welcomes everyone who would like to join and be part of this group in big ways or in smaller ways. There are many ways to engage this work. And we live in times that make it rather obvious that there is a lot to be done. In this work, we draw on examples from the past history that inspire us for this work and remind us that this work and all the hardships experienced along the way matter. They matter deeply to millions of people, to billions of people. And one such example is Martin Luther King Jr., whose legacy we honor this weekend to uplift his work and his dream that inspired many to join and to make a social change. Wherever you are on your journey, welcome here. Our call to worship was written by William Sinkford, and it's slightly adapted for this service. We are a gentle and generous people, but let us not forget our anger. May it fuel not only our commitment to compassion, but also our commitment to make fundamental changes. Our vision of the beloved community must stand against a vision that would allow the privilege of the few to be accepted as just and even holy. Our religious vision must again and again ask, who is my neighbor? And strive always to include more and more of us. as we intone the words that gave birth to this nation, we the people, we are and should be both a gentle and angry people. Come, let us worship together. We will begin by lighting the chalice.
We will begin by lighting our chalice, a symbol of Unitarian Universalism and the light of hope. Each Sunday when we gather, we light this symbol of life. Today, the chalice will be lit by Matt Denton, and the chalice writing is by Melanie Davis.
If ever there were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice.
Thank you, Matt. A covenant is the promise we make with each other about the way we will walk together as a community, a congregation. Please join me in reminding ourselves of this promise. Love is the spirit of the church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
Today's story is from a service that was written by some of my colleagues, and it was adapted to fit the service that it was kind of coordinated. But it's about events that happened during the civil rights movement. I'll stay up here because it's a longer story and there's a lot for me to read. Usually I come down and I tell you the story, but if I start telling, that means I will skip over quite a lot of things, and then you will be correcting me from your seats, and that will be longer than what it already is. So the change, we're talking about the change, it began with Rosa Parks. But not really. It began long before then, in 100 different places in 100 different ways. It began in Africa. It began when the first slaves were brought to America. It began with the proclamation, with the Civil War, and the Reconstruction, with all those broken promises. But for the public person that we remember today, for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and the world he changed, you could say it began with Rosa Parks. On December 1st in 1955, in Montgomery, Alabama, bus number 2857, Rosa Parks, 42 years old, who sitting in the front row of the black-only bus seats. A bus driver named Jimmy Blake told this colored woman to get up out of her seat so a white man could sit down. And Rosa Parks said, "No. No, I will not. I'm cold and I'm tired, and I got here first. I'm sitting." While she waited, Jimmy Blake went to call the police. She got arrested and held away. Rosa Parks was not the first to protest bus segregation. Irene Morgan had done the same thing 9 years before, and Sarah Kiles had done it just a few months earlier. Keys or Keys? Might be Keys, sorry. The U.S. Supreme Court had already said she didn't have to move. She had rights. But this time, when Rosa Parks did not get up, somebody noticed. In fact, everybody noticed. That's how the Birmingham bus boycott began and how Martin Luther King Jr. found her. There's no denying it. Rosa Parks was making a point, and she knew it. She was secretary of the Montgomery chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or also known as NAACP. When she said no to Jimmy Blake, she was already a worker for civil rights and racial equality, but still, this was the moment. She was tired of giving in, and she wasn't going to do it anymore, and she suffered for it. She lost her job as a seamstress in a local department store, but she started a movement. E.D. Nixon, president of the local NAACP, wanted Rosa Parks' arrest to be a test case so that Montgomery's Black citizens could challenge the city's segregationist laws. He and the other leaders of the movement had actually been waiting for a case like this, for an act of injustice that would galvanize the Black community and drive them into action. After Rosa Parks was arrested, E.D. Nixon organized a meeting of local ministers at home church of a young minister, Martin Luther King Jr. A little later on, King was elected to lead the boycott, mainly because he was new in town and unknown, and the city fathers of Montgomery had not had a chance to intimidate him yet. E.D. Nixon actually had to push Reverend King to get him to take the job, but he did, finally, and the world started to change. The night of Rosa Parks' arrest, Joanne Robinson, head of the Women's Political Council, printed and circulated a flyer throughout Montgomery's Black community. And the flyer said this, and there will be language that will be unusual for our ears. Another woman has been arrested and thrown in jail because she refused to get up out of her seat on the bus for a white person to sit down. This has to be stopped. The next time it may be you or your daughter or mother. This woman's case will come up on Monday. We are therefore asking every Negro to stay off the buses Monday in protest of the arrest and trial. Don't ride buses to work, to town, to school, or anywhere on Monday. You can afford to stay out of school for one day if you have no other way to go except by bus. You can also afford to stay out of town for one day. If you work, take a cab or walk, but please, children and grown-ups don't ride the bus at all on Monday. That was December 2nd. On December 3rd, almost no Black people rode the buses in Montgomery, Alabama. Instead, boycotters just stayed home or organized carpools. Some white housewives even drove their Black domestic servants to work, whether they were sympathetic to the cause or just wanted to have their servants not miss a day at work. And Dr. King said to himself, "A miracle has taken place." The city didn't like that. They pressured local insurance companies to stop insuring cars used in carpools. So the boycott leaders arranged policies with Lloyd's of London. Black taxi drivers helped too. They charged their Black fares only 10 cents for a ride, the same price as a bus ride. And when the city officials heard about that, they passed a law saying it was illegal to charge a rider less than 45 cents. That did not stop it. It just got bigger. People started riding bicycles. They started walking. They even rode mules and horse-drawn buggies. And across the country, Black churches raised money to support the boycott. They even collected shoes to replace the worn-out footwear for Montgomery's Black citizens. The white racist power structure, part of a group called the White Citizens Council, fought back. Martin Luther King Jr.'s and Ralph Abernathy's houses were firebombed. So were 4 Black Baptist churches. Boycotters were attacked and beaten all over town. Finally, the city of Montgomery howled out a law passed way back in 1921 and started arresting protesters for hindering a bus. And one of those arrested was King. He ended up spending 2 weeks in prison and becoming a national celebrity. Much later, Dr. King said, "I was proud of my crime. It was the crime of joining my people in a nonviolent protest against injustice." The Montgomery bus boycott was an 11-month mass protest that ended with the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that public bus segregation is unconstitutional. Dr. King saw that it was much more about than that. It wasn't just about a Black woman in the Montgomery getting pushed around. It wasn't just about one law in one city. It was about the rights of all Black people. It was time to stand up. King said, "In all of our actions, we must stick together. Unity is the great need of the hour, and if we are united, we can get many of the things that we not only desire, but which we justly deserve." And by the way, Rosa Parks came out okay. She was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and there's a statue of her in the National Statuary Hall. When she died, she lay in honor in the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C., only the third private citizen to lie in honor in that rotunda. That was Rosa Parks. We are gentle, angry people. When I see what is happening these days in our society, in our political world, my heart breaks. And sometimes I can't help but get angry out of hurt, despair, or a sense of hopelessness as I witness the events unfolding and feel not being able to stop them. Minneapolis is currently under attack from our own government, and it is horrifying to watch citizens being detained and arrested, people's homes broken into without warrants, the chemical sprays unleashed on bystanders, including children and infants. These are horrible things. People are treated without dignity and respect. Laws do not matter. And the imperialistic mindset celebrates asserting power by all means. I don't know about you, but as I watch the events unfolding with this administration that continues to come up with more and more new ways to be even more vicious, violent, cruel, and greedy, I go through a number of emotions, from shock and unbelief to anger and outrage to deep pain and despair. These events continue to traumatize us, our psyche, and because even as we watch the news and see the things going on, we are being witnesses, and that can trigger a trauma response. In pastoral care, this is called secondary trauma, and it can have a significant impact on our well-being, ruining not just our sleep, but also our health, our sense of safety, as well as our sense of connection to others. It is possible to become numb to these events, to find ways to normalize the violence and absurdity of the events. It is also possible to become so overwhelmed that we turn off news and decide not to know so that we would not have to care. It is possible, but it will be difficult if you are a Unitarian Universalist, because our faith calls us to care. Our faith continuously reminds us to put love at the center and to engage in the work of social justice. And you cannot do that without knowing what is going on. You cannot do that without caring. Our faith says that we are all interconnected, and what affects one affects us all. We are not okay if our neighbor is not okay, because we believe that we all can be well, and we all can share this wonderful and complicated world without ripping it apart. Our faith tells us that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion, and we have promised to ourselves and to each other to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. So if this is our call to care, to work for justice so that all beings can live with freedom and dignity, what do we do? Where do we begin? The common read that the UUA, or our Unitarian Universalist Association, has picked for this year is a book written by Deepa Iyer called Social Change Now, a guide for reflection and connection. Here we have been reading and discussing this book as part of our adult RE program this month. And if you did not get a chance to join in, we're looking at another possibility in June to be able to look through this book. The book provides a framework for how we can respond to these unprecedented times. And what roles can we play? It is designed to help us look systematically at how social change happens and offers guidance in how to engage this work from where you are today. Whether you are experienced and ready to go, or you might be never done this kind of work before, or you might have been weary and become overwhelmed or exhausted from doing this work for so long. This book helps to discern your next steps, your next commitment, and to connect you with others. And there are many ways we can engage this work and many roles that each one of us can take. In your order of worship, if you may have noticed, there's a beautiful graphic listing all the different types of roles that we can play. And these are roles that individuals can play, and these are roles that organizations can play. And on the back, you will see the explanation of the uniquenesses of these roles. And I know you have to read and listen at the same time, and that's not everybody's forte. But I will keep going because we want to go home too. But when you look at these roles and you see the diversity among them, and you think about the situation we live in or the past history of efforts to change the circumstances, you will see that we need all of these roles. We need disruptors who will take these uncomfortable and risky actions to shake up the status quo, to raise awareness and build power, like lying down in the front of the ICE office in Minneapolis to symbolize the people who have been killed. 35 people, right now it's already higher. We need frontline responders. We need visionaries and builders and weavers and caregivers who will nurture and nourish people around us by creating and sustaining community of care, joy, and connection so that we can keep going. We each have our gifts and talents here, and not all of us can march in the parade that's coming tomorrow. And literally, not all of us can march anymore. So that's why we have a trailer with some seating possibilities. But also figuratively, Not all of us can march. Some of us have gifts for other type of engagement and response than marching. There is still a role for each one of us to play. And if you look through that list over and again, you may find the one that is you. During the story time, or the Story for All Ages time, you heard about the events that happened during the civil rights movement. And what you noticed, I hope you noticed, is that people stayed connected. And it took that many different roles, many different parts in this movement for all of it to unfold and get to where it eventually did. The leading figures, such as Martin Luther King Jr. and others, could not have led others through this movement without Rosa Parks, who was willing to be the disruptor and not give up her seat in the bus. It would not have been possible without Edie Nixon, Joanne Robinson, Irene Morgan, the ministers, and the black folks who all joined in to boycott the buses and risked being beaten and arrested and even possibly killed. Each movement requires many, many people to join in and take their part. And what we need most during these times is to be connected with each other. To resist the silos, choose connection, and play the role that is most you at this time. As a community, as a church here, we are here to do our part. To provide connections, provide opportunities to engage the social justice work. And if you can stay here after the service, our social justice team will be meeting here in the sanctuary because they are just too large to meet anywhere else, and there is still more room for you to join. This is one of the joys of this church, that we have grown our social justice group so big that it's just marvelous that we are running out of space in our classrooms. You will hear in this meeting about what we're doing, what's coming up, but also what opportunities are out there through other UU organizations and churches, through other interfaith organizations, our larger faith. The Site of Love is our UUA, our association's organizing strategy team, and they're beginning the 30 Days of Love campaign on Monday. But already yesterday, Friday, they sent an email in advance of this campaign providing resources, kind of like a help kit, how to help support people in Minnesota and lend our hand to this work of justice. This is the statement that they issued. We join many others in demanding accountability and an immediate end to ICE operations in all our communities. We invite all people of faith and conscience to grieve together, to refuse the normalization of state violence, and to commit themselves to the long work of transforming the systems that betray our deepest moral and spiritual commitments. The resource kit includes information about upcoming MLK rallies, a call from a multi-faith organization called March to gather faith leaders for a day of witness and resistance in solidarity with immigrants, and a sunrise movement called to shut down Hilton, an impactful way to get ICE out by going after the money pockets. We keep working, we keep loving, we keep building, no matter what. No matter how big the disappointment, because we know that something better is possible. And we can be part of that journey if we stay connected. As Dr. King said, In all of our actions, we must stick together. Unity is the great need of this hour.
As our worship time this morning draws to a close, it's time to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in reciting these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
For our benediction, words written by Reverend Jonalu Johnston. We shall overcome. When we can truly celebrate the diversity of contributions and talents offered by all people, we shall overcome hatred and prejudice and oppression. When we can truly extend our hands to one another in loving acceptance, we shall overcome the past that haunts us now. Living in peace and freedom, we shall overcome the wrongs that have happened and the debts left unpaid. Let us join together in that commitment to overcome. And let us say together, Amen. Amen.